Gemini, the universe will reveal someone who is hiding from you how unhappy they really are. What if someone close to you, someone you laugh with, text every day, maybe even live with, is quietly drowning in sadness, yet hides it every time you enter the room? What if their smile was a performance, not a reflection of their soul? The truth is, Gemini, the universe is preparing to reveal something your heart may already suspect, but your mind has tried to deny. Someone in your life is carrying a silent sorrow, and they've been hiding it specifically from you. Not because they don't trust you, but because they care so deeply. They can't bear the thought of burdening your spirit. This isn't your fault, but it is your invitation. The universe is not placing guilt on your shoulders. It's offering you the chance to witness a truth that has long been veiled, to hold space for raw emotion, to learn how to love someone through complexity they never dared to show, and most of all, to grow into the version of yourself who no longer needs perfection in others in order to feel safe. If you felt a tension in your chest lately or caught yourself wondering, is something off? You're not imagining it. You're sensing an energetic storm before the clouds split. Stay with me, Gemini. The revelation that's coming isn't just about someone else. It's about you and your next evolution in how you hold space for truth, even when it hurts. Gate 1. The smile that hides a storm, when someone you love suffers in silence. Gemini, your presence is a balm to many. You bring levity, ideas, laughter. You fill a room with stories, color, movement, and often that's exactly what others need. But sometimes, the very light you shine makes others afraid to show you their shadows. And this is where something unspoken has begun to grow. Someone you care about is hiding how deeply unhappy they truly are, not from the world, from you. It's a paradox, isn't it? That the very person who feels safest around you is also the one who feels they must pretend the most. They smile when they see you. They respond quickly to your messages. They tell you, "I'm good, just tired," or "nothing really new." But behind their eyes is a tiredness that no sleep can fix, a sadness that no small talk can soothe. And the reason they keep it from you isn't because they don't trust you. It's because they love you deeply. They believe, whether consciously or not, that showing their pain would weigh you down, that you already carry enough, that your emotional field is so sensitive, so quick to tune into others, that letting you see the truth would fracture you. And so, Gemini, they build a wall of polite smiles, clever distractions, even cheerfulness. Not to deceive, but to protect. Think of Maya, a Gemini sun with Venus in Cancer. She was the vibrant center of her group. Her laughter made people feel alive. But one day, she noticed something odd. Her partner, usually expressive and affectionate, had grown restrained. He still said, "I love you," but his hugs felt quieter. One morning, she found him sitting in the dark, awake long before dawn. "Are you okay?" she asked. He smiled. "Yeah, just couldn't sleep." That was it. But Gemini intuition doesn't lie. And she knew. Later, she learned he'd been struggling with depression for months, but didn't want to dim her light with his pain. Or Evan, a Gemini rising who always prided himself on being emotionally aware. But when his younger sister broke down during a family dinner, revealing years of unspoken anxiety, he was shocked. He'd always seen her as strong, independent, carefree. He never guessed she felt like a burden around him because he was the one who handled everything. Her silence wasn't distance. It was fear. Fear of disrupting the image he had of her. Gemini, you're so attuned to words, but sometimes the deepest messages are hidden in silence. You may have noticed someone around you acting off. Perhaps they cancel plans more often. Perhaps they seem distracted during your conversations, or they give you surface-level answers that feel too neat. Maybe you felt a strange tension in your chest after being around them, a sensation you couldn't explain. That's not anxiety. That's your intuition whispering. Something is being hidden. The universe is preparing to pull back this veil. And when it does, it won't be through a dramatic confession. It might come in a small accident of honesty, a sigh too long, a tear they try to wipe before you see it, a message they didn't mean to send. And when that moment arrives, it will shatter what you thought you knew about this person. But more than that, it will call forth something from you, a new level of emotional presence, of compassion, of courage. Because here's the truth. As much as you bring joy, you're also capable of holding space for pain. And that's what this person needs most. Not your solutions, not your positive energy, not your urge to make it better, but your witnessing, your quiet presence that says, I'm here. You don't have to hide anymore. You may feel guilt at first. You may think, how could I not see this? But remember, Gemini, they chose to hide it. Not because you failed, but because they feared the cost of honesty. What matters now is not what was missed, but how you respond when the truth arrives. And it will. Gemini, this moment will teach you something beautiful and difficult. Love is not about fixing. It's about holding. You don't need to become their therapist. You don't need to carry their pain. You only need to remain open-hearted, grounded, and real enough that they no longer feel the need to perform. Let your presence be a sanctuary, not a stage. Because when they finally let you in, when the tears fall, when the truth trembles out in whispers, they're not looking for answers. They're looking for someone who can hear them without flinching, who won't make it about themselves, who won't try to wrap pain in positivity. They're looking for someone who can say, it's okay. You're allowed to not be okay. And I'm still here. That's where the healing begins. So, Gemini, watch the quiet ones. Listen beyond the words. Feel into the pauses. The universe is preparing you for a moment of revelation. And when it comes, your presence will be the medicine someone has longed for without ever asking. You were chosen for this not because you're perfect, but because you're ready. Trust your heart. And when the mask falls, be the soul who stays. Gate 2, the unspoken pressure to be okay. How your light may be casting shadows. Gemini, one of your most beautiful gifts is your ability to elevate the room. Your humor, your insight, your quicksilver charm. But with every gift comes a shadow. And now, the universe is gently asking you to look at yours, not to punish you, but to liberate you, because someone you love is hurting. And part of the reason they haven't told you is because, unconsciously, you've made it hard for them to do so. How? By always being strong, by always being on, by always finding the silver lining before the storm has even passed. Your instinct to bring relief has sometimes replaced a space for honesty. Without knowing it, you create a dynamic where the people around you feel they need to keep up. They think, I can't bring this energy down. So they lift a mask. They adjust their tone. They pretend. And Gemini, it's not because they don't love you. It's because they do. They know how deeply you feel, even if you don't always show it. They know how quickly your emotions respond to others. They know that if they were to speak the truth of their inner world, grief, depression, doubt, you might absorb it, try to fix it, or worse, blame yourself for not noticing sooner. So they choose protection over truth. This isn't about blame. This is about becoming conscious of the emotional environment you create. Are you someone people can cry in front of without fear of being interrupted by silver linings? Are you someone who listens for what's beneath the words, not just the words themselves? Are you someone who is strong enough to sit in someone's darkness without turning on the light too soon? Think of Leo, a Gemini moon, who recently lost her best friend after months of slow distance. She only learned later that her friend had been going through a divorce, but didn't say a word. Why? I didn't want to mess up your energy, the friend confessed. You always seem so together, and I didn't want to be a downer. Those words haunted Leo. She had thought her positivity was a gift. She hadn't realized it had become a barrier. Or Kieran, a Gemini sun and therapist, known for giving amazing advice. But when his brother went silent during a crisis, he was devastated. Later, his brother told him, I didn't want advice. I just needed someone to sit with me. That moment shattered something, because Kieran realized he'd been showing up as a fixer, not a feeler. Gemini, the people who love you don't need your wisdom right now. They need your witnessing. They don't need your sparkle. They need your stillness. And more than anything, they need to know they can bring their whole self, messy, hurting, uncertain, to you and not be met with discomfort or avoidance. Let's be honest. Deep down, emotional pain can make you uncomfortable. You're so skilled at pivoting, adapting, lightening the mood. But the universe is asking you to evolve past that reflex. Because the connection that's about to reveal itself, this person who has been hiding their unhappiness from you, needs your expansion, not your escape. And here's the hardest truth. Sometimes, Gemini, you prefer not to know, not because you don't care, but because knowing would have required you to step out of your comfort zone, to confront a truth that would disturb your inner harmony. So you accepted the version they presented. You didn't ask the deeper question. You smiled back, and the silence between you grew. This revelation will bring grief, not just to the person's hidden suffering, but for all the chances you had to notice and didn't. But please hear this. Your grief is also your redemption, because once you allow yourself to feel it, fully you will become safe. Not just entertaining, not just supportive, but safe. A place where truth doesn't need to be filtered. This is where your gift truly matures. You don't have to become someone you're not. You don't need to lose your brightness. But you do need to let your light make room for shadows. You need to learn how to pause before offering comfort. How to ask, do you want me to listen or help? How to say, you don't have to be okay around me. Because healing doesn't come from always having answers. It comes from being someone who doesn't flinch at truth. And Gemini, you are ready for that. You are ready to create a space where realness is welcome, where others don't feel like they need to manage your emotions before they can share theirs, where tears aren't seen as problems to solve, but as proof of a heart that still cares. So if you've been noticing someone pulling away, if you feel a disconnect you can't explain, if your intuition whispers that something is off, it probably is. Don't wait for them to say it. Open the door. Say, I've been thinking of you, and I'm here if you ever need to talk about what's really going on. No judgment, no pressure, just truth. You might be the first person who's ever said that to them, and that invitation might be the beginning of their healing. And yours. Gate 3, the mirror suppression, when their silence awakened your own. Gemini, up until now, the focus has been on the other, the person hiding their sorrow, the one whose smile masks quiet suffering. But what if their silence is not just a situation to understand, but a signal? What if the truth that's about to be revealed through them is also a call to finally face something you've long buried within yourself? Here's the paradox. You, the one who hears everyone, often ignore the faintest voice of your own soul. You offer support, wisdom, laughter. You ask all the right questions, give all the right responses. But when it comes to your own emotional depth, the sorrow that visits you when you're alone, the ache behind your eyes when the room gets quiet, you become the expert at shifting, skipping, deflecting. But now, Gemini, the universe is placing someone in your path who is doing the same. They're hiding their truth. And the discomfort you feel witnessing their hidden sadness is not just empathy, it's recognition. You're watching a version of yourself try and stay composed while holding the weight of things left unsaid. This is not punishment. This is alchemy. This is how the cosmos works. It gives us mirrors, not to judge us, but to awaken us. Perhaps you remember a moment months or years ago when you tried to express how you truly felt and were met with misunderstanding, dismissal, or even rejection. Since then, maybe you promised yourself, I'll just keep it light. I'll be the strong one. I'll figure out alone. That choice became a pattern, and that pattern became protection. But protection eventually becomes isolation. And isolation, no matter how cleverly disguised, leave a residue. And now, Gemini, you're feeling its surface. Through this person, their suppressed sadness is poking at your own. And the part of you that once said, no one really wants the full truth of me, is being asked to reconsider. This is why the coming revelation will be so confronting. Not only will it unravel what you thought you knew about someone else, it will unravel what you believed about yourself. You may begin to ask, have I made it difficult for people to know the real me too? Have I minimized my needs just to make others feel safe? Have I edited my emotions to preserve an image? And here's where healing begins. When you realize that honesty doesn't have to mean chaos, that expressing pain isn't a burden, it's a bridge, that your inner life doesn't make you too much, it makes you real. Think of Nico, a Gemini sun with a Capricorn moon, always a cheerful one at work, always ready with ideas and solutions. No one suspected that for over a year, he'd been battling quiet burnout and creeping anxiety. He never told anyone, until one day, a coworker broke down in front of him, and in that moment, something cracked open. Instead of fixing, he listened, and then he shared, "You know, I've been struggling too." That one sentence shifted the entire room. Suddenly, vulnerability was no longer a secret. It was a shared frequency. And in that, healing began for both of them. Or Hannah, Gemini rising, who'd never told her best friend how deeply she felt abandoned during a difficult time. When that same friend confessed months later that she had felt emotionally distant but didn't know how to bring it up, Hannah cried. Not because she was hurt, but because it was the first time someone mirrored what she herself had always done: protect through silence. Gemini, you're at a powerful crossroad. The truth that someone you love is quietly suffering is not only a call to compassion, it's an invitation to self-inquiry. Can you make space for others to be raw without expecting yourself to stay polished? Can you listen to their pain while gently admitting your own? Can you offer presence while daring to need it too? This is your turning point, because what's being revealed is not just their unhappiness. It's the hidden cost of always playing the light, of always being okay, of always needing to be the strong one. And now, the universe is asking, what would it look like to be fully seen, not just for your brilliance, but for your humanness? That is the liberation awaiting you. So when this person finally opens up, when they break the silence they've carefully held, let that moment be not only about them, let it be about you too. Let it be the moment where your own heart opens a little wider, where your walls soften, where you decide that authenticity is more nourishing than perfection. Because Gemini, there's a version of you that the world desperately needs, but you've been holding it back. Not your funny self, not your witty self, your honest self, the self that's allowed to not have all the answers, the self that doesn't need to cheer up everyone, the self that can sit in the dark, not because you've lost your light, but because you finally made peace with your depth. This revelation, this mirrored truth, is not here to break you. It's here to complete you. And from this place, raw, honest, unfiltered, you'll begin attracting relationships where masks are no longer needed, where both you and others can be seen fully, felt deeply, and loved truthfully. No edits, no apologies, just you, whole, present, and finally, home within your own emotional truth. Gate 4, building emotional truth, learning to hold space without fixing. Gemini, you've witnessed the cost of hiding, the toll it takes on both the one who suffers silently and the one who unknowingly waits for a truth never told. Now, the universe calls you to a new way of relating, a way grounded not in fixing or controlling, but in holding space for realness, no matter how raw or uncomfortable it may be. This is not easy for you, Gemini. You are wired to solve, to find answers, to ease tensions with wit or charm. But emotional truth often resists being solved. It wants to be felt, to be witnessed, to be allowed. Imagine a friend revealing a deep fear, or a partner confessing a long-buried sadness. Your first instinct might be to jump in with advice, encouragement, or reassurance. But what if instead you simply listened? Not to respond, but to hear? What if your presence became a calm harbor, where honesty was not just welcome but honored? This shift from fixer to holder is revolutionary. It requires patience, vulnerability, and a willingness to be uncomfortable without trying to change the moment. And it is this space, the sacred emotional container, that invites healing to begin. Consider the story of Laura, a Gemini moon who struggled to stay present when her sister expressed anger and hurt. Lara's natural reaction was to smooth things over, to lighten the mood or distract. But she noticed that her sister's pain only deepened. Finally, Laura paused. She said, "Tell me what you're feeling. I'm here with you." That simple act of openness transformed their relationship. Her sister felt seen, not fixed, and Laura learned the power of being rather than doing. Or think of Julian, a Gemini rising who, after years of trying to cheer up his anxious best friend, learned to sit silently through tears and silences. He realized that his friend didn't need solutions. He needed someone to stay when the storm passed through. That presence alone was a balm. Gemini, this learning is your next evolution. To hold space without judgment, to listen without interruption, to accept without trying to change the story. This doesn't mean you abandon your natural joy or lightness. It means you expand your emotional toolkit, adding depth to your sparkle. It also means setting boundaries. Holding space does not require you to sacrifice your own peace or absorb others' pain as your own. It's a delicate balance of empathy and self-care. You can love deeply and protect your energy simultaneously. When someone finally lets down their guard, when they dare to show you the unhappiness they've hidden, they're entrusting you with their vulnerability. Honor this trust by resisting the urge to fix or dismiss. Instead, ask, what do you need from me right now? The answer may surprise you. It might be silence, or a hug, or simply your calm presence. And Gemini, as you practice this new way of relating, you will notice something beautiful. The depth of your relationships will deepen. People will feel safer, more willing to share their true selves. The walls of performance will crumble, revealing connection that is real, nourishing, and transformative. This is the essence of authentic harmony. Not a forced peace where pain is hidden, but a living peace that embraces imperfection and complexity. The universe is guiding you to become this kind of presence. It's preparing you to be the one who holds without fixing, who listens without judging, who loves without conditions. And in doing so, Gemini, you will heal not only others but yourself. Because holding space for someone else's pain invites you to hold space for your own. It teaches you that it's okay to be seen in your full emotional spectrum, your fears, your doubts, your sadness alongside your brilliance. So prepare your heart, practice patience, cultivate quiet strength. This is how you become the kind of friend, partner, and soul companion that the world and your own life has been waiting for. Gate 5, living the change, practicing emotional presence in your closest relationships. Gemini, now that you've begun to understand the power of holding space without fixing, it's time to live this truth in your most essential relationships. Change is not merely an idea. It is an action, a daily practice, a commitment to being present, honest, and compassionate without losing your own balance. In romantic partnerships, this means resisting the urge to solve your partner's pain or dismiss their emotions as temporary moods. Instead, try saying, I'm here to listen, even if I don't have the answers. Let silence sit comfortably between you. Allow tears without rushing to cheer. This presence deepens intimacy more than any advice or reassurance ever could. Consider Rachel, a Gemini sun, who noticed her partner withdrawing during a stressful time. Instead of pushing for explanations or trying to lighten the mood, Rachel began simply sitting with him quietly, holding his hand and saying, I'm with you. Over time, he began sharing his fears and doubts, things he never voiced before. Their relationship moved from polite companionship to soulful connection. In family dynamics, practicing this shift requires patience and sometimes courage. Family members often resist change, preferring familiar patterns even when they cause pain. You may face resistance when you invite honest conversations, or when you refuse to keep the peace by ignoring uncomfortable truths. Take Amir, a Gemini rising, who noticed tension between his parents. Rather than pretending all was fine, he gently encouraged conversations about feelings. At first, he was met with silence or anger, but by consistently holding a non-judgmental space, Amir helped his family navigate long-avoided conflicts, creating healthier dynamics over time. Friendships, too, require this new form of presence. Friends often share laughter and light, but true friendship is tested in vulnerability. When a friend confides or struggles, listen fully. Avoid jumping in with comparisons or quick fixes. Instead, reflect back what you hear, affirm their feelings, and respect their pace. Gemini, as you engage in these practices, you may find some relationships deepen, while others may drift away. This is natural. Authentic connection often reveals incompatibilities that polite facades once masked. Trust that letting go of relationships that no longer serve your growth makes space for ones that do. Moreover, maintaining your own emotional health is vital. Practicing presence does not mean becoming a caretaker or emotional sponge. Set clear boundaries. Know when to step back to recharge. Use your natural Gemini curiosity to explore self-care techniques, whether meditation, creative expression, or time in nature, that replenish your spirit. Journaling can be a powerful tool here. Reflect on your daily interactions. Notice moments when you listen without fixing. Celebrate small victories. Acknowledge challenges without judgment. Over time, this builds emotional resilience and deepens your capacity for presence. Remember, Gemini, this journey is not about perfection. It's about showing up again and again with honesty and heart. It's about choosing connection over control, truth over comfort, vulnerability over performance. As you embody this new way of relating, you become a beacon of authentic harmony. People are drawn to your genuine presence. You inspire others to lower their masks, to speak their truths, and to embrace their own emotional complexity. The universe has prepared you for this role, not because it's easy, but because it is transformative. Your willingness to grow in emotional presence ripples out, healing not just your closest circles, but the wider world around you. So, Gemini, take this step boldly. Practice presence in your daily life. Be patient with yourself and others. Trust that every honest conversation, every moment of shared vulnerability, is a thread weaving the fabric of deeper connection and love. Your journey toward authentic relationships is also a journey toward your own freedom. Freedom to be fully seen, fully heard, and fully loved, not despite your complexities, but because of them. Conclusion: embracing truth, cultivating connection, becoming whole. Gemini, your journey through this revelation has been nothing short of profound. You've seen how someone close to you has hidden their unhappiness, not out of indifference, but from love and protection. You face a mirror that reflects your own silent struggles, recognizing how your light, while dazzling, sometimes casts shadows of unspoken pain around you. Now, you stand at the threshold of transformation, called to build relationships rooted in emotional truth and presence. This path is neither simple nor free from discomfort. It requires courage, the courage to welcome vulnerability without rushing to fix, to hold space without judgment, and to let go of illusions in favor of authentic connection. But with each step, you reclaim a deeper part of yourself, the part that deserves to be fully known and wholly loved. Remember, Gemini, true harmony is not the absence of conflict or pain. It is the presence of understanding, compassion, and honesty even amid imperfection. As you practice this new way of relating, you will discover a richness in your connections that transcends surface smiles and polite conversations. You'll become a sanctuary where others can safely reveal their truths, and where your own truths are met with acceptance. I invite you to share your experiences in the comments. Have you sensed hidden emotions around you? Have you struggled to balance your light with the need for depth? Your stories will help others awaken to their own journeys of authentic connection. If this message resonated with you, please like and share it with those who might need to hear it. And consider subscribing to the channel for ongoing guidance as you navigate this transformative path. Together, we are learning that vulnerability is strength, honesty is healing, and connection is the soul's true home. Embrace this evolution with open arms, Gemini. The universe is walking beside you, ready to reveal the freedom that comes from living fully and loving deeply.